Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you're joining us from worldwide. I'm Sterling, and it's great to have you back on the channel. This show is being recorded on Saturday, the 9th of November, 2024, and will be posted on Sunday, November 10th, 2024. As always, these shows are provided for entertainment purposes only. All the information I share with you comes real time through my guides, angels, extended spiritual counsel, ETs, ET counsel, famous people from history. So for entertainment purposes only. Also, if you just remember to like, subscribe, share, hit the notification bell, all those things are greatly appreciated. And for those who need to reach me, go to sterlingpsychicmedium.com, look for the book a session tab. It's all very straightforward from there. And last remaining footnote, we do have a platinum membership now. You can join on the front page of our YouTube channel, Sterling Psychic Medium, or on the front page of our website, sterlingpsychicmedium.com. The platinum membership entitles you to live streams that we do every Friday morning Pacific time zone, answering a plethora of questions regarding personal life experiences, world events, all sorts of things. So you're welcome to join our platinum membership. So welcome. Obviously, a very busy week due to the election. And at the top of the show here, I wanted to share a lot of the thoughts that I have regarding the recent election. And after talking with my team of guides and angels, just kind of share some high level observations, some thoughts that I thought would certainly be very helpful and appropriate at this time. First off, let me just say up front here, great to be back with everybody. We had some major fires going on in Southern California. Some 20,000 acres were burning in the mountain fire. Some 200 structures were compromised. We were out power for several days, so that creates some of the delays and things going on. But power's back on. So far, so good. I think the fire is now 14% contained. So anyway, good to be back with everybody. So I wanted to share then start off with a few high-level thoughts here regarding the election. The first being is, do not believe everything that you see. I do see there'll be several state challenges regarding the authenticity of the election. I don't want to subscribe any outcome to that, but I certainly had talked about that about as many as 6 states on last Sunday's show, going through some sort of a challenge and a reevaluation of some of the voting that was going on there. As I indicated in many videos leading up to the election, I saw chaos, around this election, and we're certainly seeing some of that going on right now. But kind of a few important propositions to remember here regarding this channel and the information that we share every week. This is primarily a spiritual channel in that I'm happy to be a conduit for all sorts of information that I allow to come through me from angels and guides and ascended masters and ETs. But really, the purpose of the channel is to inspire, instruct, and empower everyone. That's the purpose of the channel, okay? I always give full credit to my large team of guides and angels, and I allow them to communicate through me. I'm happy to do that and share the information each week from the large number of questions that we receive, sometimes 400 to 500 questions each week on our community board. And as you know, my wife goes through them, screens them down to 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, sometimes 80 questions. Happy to share the information. But as a quick footnote, by the same token, we don't accept any bad behavior on the channel or any judgment from listeners to the channel. If you did not hear what you want to hear, I mean, I was going to hear what you want to hear. You don't have to feel the need to challenge the channel. We would say is simply put, just move on to another channel and don't listen to this channel. So simply put. Also, the Akashic records have what's called the dynamic timeline. I refer to that as kind of a slinky. If you think of a slinky, you can stretch it or expand it or bring it in. And this really accommodates the speeding up or slowing down of certain timelines. So the Akashic records does speed up, it does slow down. We're all here on Earth in a school and learning lessons of humanity every day. This includes all of us, including me. We all create our own reality. If you live on the fear side, you create a lot of anxiety and depression. If you live on the love side, you're living in the art of what's possible and moving forward and creating that future that we all want to create. So, the purpose of this channel is to help show everyone there is another side. There's a way to communicate with your guides and angels, and that we all have angelic teams around us to help us every day of our lives. Also, guides and angels, my team, your team, they always share the information, the exact information they want humanity to hear at the specific time. There's always a greater good involved in some way. Don't always understand what's going on, what the greater good is, but they always share the information that's important to us, whether it's comfortable or not. I never question the information that they want to give, and always knowing that there's a higher purpose of my receiving it and then sharing it with you. So the information shared is always designed to teach lessons, expand humanity's understanding of how the universe works, and also give us a good understanding of the yin and yang of the relationship. So remember, we always also want everybody to check their own internal resonance of all information they receive. It's always very important. So now just a few additional facts about the election cycle we just went through. For over 4 years, I've always seen that 45 would be the GOP nominee, go all the way through the election process, not die, not have a stroke, not go to prison, not go to jail, but he actually would move through the entire election process. And this is true as much as 4 years ago when there were over a dozen, GOP candidates in the initial election process, the primary process. Also, for several years, I've also seen that Vice President Harris and Biden would realign the presidential ticket. And that's in the predictions that were in January of this year, also predictions for the former year. But I always saw realignment, and I always saw that VP Harris, Kamala Harris, would be offered some sort of a higher position. Didn't know what that was at the time. It wasn't meant for us to know, but that information was very clear, and I did share with everybody in the predictions. I always saw also that the first female president would actually be in the year 2032. Now, I was surprised, as anybody, that looks like it was going to happen 8 years faster, but that was something that came up in the predictions and actually over half a dozen shows I've done that the first female president would be elected in 2032. Remember, the Akashic records are dynamic, have a bit of a dynamic timeline to them. So I want you to also know that, according to my team, the election process was not handled honestly. And in fact, there was, manipulation behind the scenes with server interfaces and with things going on with billionaires and oligarchs worldwide. So a lot of this information is going to come to light. I don't believe this is going to change the election results, but it is going to come to light and will start to generate kind of major changes as we go forward. And as we all go through this time of what I call high uncertainty. Okay. Just like you, I am highly disappointed and surprised in the election results. I'll keep you updated on any information that my angels and guides want to share. Happy to do that all the time. I always saw this was going to be a razor thin election, talked about in many shows that it was not going to be a blowout for Kamala Harris or the House and the Senate races. I always saw razor thin margins, and obviously, we're dealing with all the results right now. I also never saw that there was, say, a woman in particular bringing down 45, or that Nikki Haley would be on the ticket or go into the presidential election. So all these things are tracking with what my team had said, for years leading up to this final election process. So the universe can always guide us towards more constructive solutions, but free will, right, can always speed up or slow down all the timelines that we're all experiencing. I've just said also that, remember this election cycle, the term election cycle we just went through, everything is not as it seems. So there's a lot of information that's going to come out regarding what just transpired, how it transpired, and going to really create some important changes going forward here. As a footnote, you can just take a step back from the election and do I believe that a massive number of women came out and voted, let's say, in favor of the current president-elect? I don't think that's credible, right? So there's some things going on here with some very skewed election results, and of course, I did see many billionaires behind 45. Which helped to tilt the election, and we talked about that a lot in prior shows. So a lot of manipulation and back end systems, things going on here that we'll see this come out in the public. So this is also a lesson for the entire world and the universe that If you're not careful, you take democracy seriously, there's kind of harder lessons that are learned by humanity as we all go down the road here. So in the coming years, the world will see that we'll see a push back towards democracy. But remember, the whole universe is a yin and a yang. Okay. Uh, we actually have, as you know, worldwide dictatorship problem and a far right problem going on in many countries, many nations around the world. And this is all part of a 3-decade reset that we're going through. I talk about all the time, 2020 to 2050. In closing, kind of around this whole election topic, I want everybody to keep the faith and know that the truth will be revealed. I do not want to raise any hopes, but the truth will come out, and this will create major significant changes as we move down the road here. Okay, so I want to get that out across to everybody in terms of what the election cycle we just went through, guides and angels, looking at facts and things leading up to it, and kind of how my guides and angels wanted, all the information to be shared with you and how it comes out here. So happy to share it with you and hope that was helpful. So now, with no further delay, let's get going on the questions that we received this week. I think now this show, we have about 32 questions this show. Obviously, we had some things dealing with the fires this week, so that I kind of changed the format of the show here a little bit. But happy to get going on this show this week. So question 32, Sterling, we knew they were going to lie and cheat, but never expected this. Will the government do a recount of the election, or will we have a new election? If possible, can you ask the guys to give us an update on the election? So yes, I mean, I touched on a lot of this at the beginning of this show here. I'm not seeing a definitive outcome at this time. That means that things are in flux. So allow the universe to work through what's supposed to be worked through here. But I'm not seeing a definitive outcome right now. But I do see, as I said, federal investigations going on in terms of what I call voter state integrity, server integrity. 31, good morning, Sterling and team. What a heartbreaking turn of events. What happened? Now that 45 is our president-elect, for the foreseeable future, will the extraterrestrials and hybrids postpone their plans for coming forward? Well, yes, in some respects, because they actually need to work with leadership that is centered on kind of the benefits of humanity and the universe. So a little bit of a delay here. They're still working behind the scenes to protect nuclear interaction, that kind of a thing. But that's going to delay a little bit of the timing here. But I wouldn't be overly concerned. 30 in the countdown. Good morning, Sterling and team. Will there be any medical debt relief in the near future for individuals who are underinsured or have no health insurance? Yes, there will, but I don't see it starting until like the summer of 2025. So we're about 6 to 10 months out, kind of a thing here. But it looks like there will be some medical relief policy coming forward here. 29 in the countdown is Stephanie Seneff, and then that's Seneff, Seneff, in her book, Toxic Legacy, correct about the effects of Roundup on human health and chronic illness. I don't have any familiarity with the book per se, but my team is saying that some of the elements regarding microbiotics, not a doctor here, I guess the way they affect digestive system and maybe the manufacturing and handling of proteins in the body, that some of that interaction is true. So I don't have any familiarity with the book, but they're saying kind of in two areas here, handling of proteins and micro and macrobiotics has some sort of of effect on that on the body. 28, will J.D. Vance invoke the 25th Amendment? It does not appear that he'll invoke the 25th Amendment, and that has a lot to do with the incapacitation or death or some other like health related issue for a president. Does not appear that's going to be the case. But it does look like there's some voting irregularities, that we're talking about here. So, but it does not look like the 25th Amendment is going to be invoked by, let's say, J.D. Vance. 27. Hello, Sterling. When my child was a baby, she was diagnosed as terminal. In the hospital, I began to hear messages and warnings, and I relayed them to the doctor, who thought I was crazy at the time, of course. The messages were accurate. My child lived because of insisting the doctor follow through with them. Were those my guides, angels, or my child's angels and guides? So this is actually the angelic team from both sides. This is your angelic team, your child's angelic team. This is a very concrete way, a very substantive way that angelic teams communicate with all of us. At times of great need, they step in to help, and you listen to your guides and angels, and congratulations. That was all part of your life path and learning. And a lot of times we take these kinds of life lessons and share them with the world, just as you're doing right now, to help others. 26 in the countdown. Hello, Sterling. Do you see Mount Adams or Mount Rainier in Washington State erupting anytime soon? I don't see Mount Adams erupting, they're telling me, but Mount Rainier, I do see erupting in like 1,000 years. So that puts you up at 3024, the year 3024. Looks like in 1,000 years, but there'll be a lot of different scientific developments at that time to guard humanity. But Mount Rainier looks like in 1,000 years, looks like it may erupt. 25. What is the purpose of life on the other side? Who is in charge, or who is in charge there? Also, do souls have an end game, or do they eventually get absorbed in energy that created them? So energies do not get absorbed in energy. They do not get absorbed into a massive conglomeration of energy. No, you maintain your unique soul identity, your soul DNA, even though we're like drops of water in the ocean. That's very true, kind of figuratively speaking. Souls do not have an end game. Souls are infinite. Souls are actually energy. Energy cannot be created or destroyed. So there isn't an end game. It's an infinite process. And the purpose of all souls in going through reincarnations is evolution. 24 in the countdown. Hello, Sterling. We come to Earth to experience and learn from fear through life lessons so that we may grow spiritually through the thousands of energy levels on the other side. You also explain that we are on the other side. We see fear and understand fear on earth, but we don't experience it because you stand in pure love on the other side. My question is, does fear exist anywhere else in the universe? Since there must be a balance between yin and yang, it seems that fear must be experienced elsewhere since reincarnation happened elsewhere, everywhere. So, fear does exist in many areas of the universe. It doesn't exist in the heaven dimension. Heaven dimension is very unique, but heaven in some respects is like a large international airport where everybody kind of convenes and kind of figures out where their next trip is, or connecting flight, or connecting reincarnation. But the fear does exist around the universe, but just not in the heaven dimension. That's a pure love dimension that makes it very unique. 23, hello, Sterling and team. There is talk that the younger voters who actually registered did not actually turn out to vote for the election. There are currently around 16 million votes less than in 2020. Are these actually missing votes, or did the younger generation really not turn out? It looks like the younger vote did turn out, but there's some manipulation, some reconstruction here behind the scenes with the votes. And I think we kind of alluded that. We talked about that a bit at the top of the show here. 22, hello, Sterling and team. It has been reported for decades now that President Eisenhower met with extraterrestrials on more than one occasion in 1954 and 1955. Is this true? And if so, who were they, and where were they from? And what messages did they convey to the president at that time? Yes, it was all true. These were Palladians, a very large group of senior elder Palladians that came down to actually communicate with government and with President Eisenhower to talk about ways of safeguarding humanity regarding nuclear explosion, nuclear weapons technology. And they also did want to give warnings to President Eisenhower and some of his cabinet not to be concerned when they shut down certain nuclear facilities, nuclear missile silos, that they were doing this. So there was a cross communication there to say, be aware that we're helping. Okay. 21. Hi, Sterling. I have read from other psychics on YouTube that there can be multiple exit points in a person's lifetime. You have mentioned there's only one exit point. Can you explain a bit more about exit points, how they're determined? Yeah, so there's only one real exit point. The other quasi exit points are either near death experiences or something else meant to teach you a lesson along your life path. But there's only one real exit point where you're allowed to get off Earth. The interesting thing is, but around your real exit point, I've seen this from my angelic teams. A lot of times you have what I call a plus or minus 2 year window. So some people may want to exit a little bit early for some reason. Some want to stay, some members or souls want to stay a little bit longer to help family, make sure the family doesn't go into chaos. But there's only one real exit point. A good example is some people try to commit suicide many times and are prevented. They're turned around. Their life is always saved. So there's only one real exit point, and that's what's important because a lot of times when people do finally exit, family members or friends may have difficulty about it. Had that happen? Was that an accident? No, there are no accidents in the universe. Everything is planned according to a life path. 20, high Sterling and team. I'm sure a lot of people experience this. Recently, I got a raise at work, and my supervisor has been treating me badly after I received it. I can feel the negative energy from a mile away, and I ask my guides and angels to protect me from this bad energy. As humans, what can we do to protect ourselves from negative people? I always tell, send love and light genuinely from the quietness of your home. Send love and light to anybody or anything you're having difficulty with, family, friends, colleagues in your company. This does work. Trust me. I utilize this a lot in my own life and my own business and work life. When you send love and light genuinely to people in the quietness of your home and mean it, you'll see that it will temper the situation. It'll calm it down. 19, high Sterling and team. Are there really portals on this planet and do people go missing in them? Could this be the reason so many people who explore the outdoors go missing? When they go missing, nothing is ever found, including hunting rifles, backpacks, etc. Sometimes only the shoes of the missing person are found neatly placed. It seems there are a large number of people missing from around Yosemite National Park. So the national parks are a completely different scenario due to natural human interaction and animal interaction. So these are not extraterrestrial abductions or people walking through portals. Now, a little bit of refinement here on the subject of portals. There are very large portals on the planet. A good example is one that's on in northern Utah on Skinwalker Ranch. It's hundreds of feet tall. It's very large. You can't accidentally walk through it. There are smaller portals on Earth where people can walk through them and experience some time delays, some time shifts. They maybe lose minutes or lose an hour or lose hours of time. You actually can, but you don't necessarily stay trapped in those portals. It's like walking through a wind tunnel, so to speak. But the national park scenarios are not extraterrestrial. These are human interactions. They're not abductions, but these have to be things like, malintent, murders, things of that nature going on. But so the whole portal discussion is a little bit larger discussion, but the real significant larger portals, you don't necessarily accidentally walk through or stay trapped or disappear in. Okay. 18, high Sterling and team. In addition to loving the knowledge these videos provide, I've been using them in a little game to see if my intuition matches with yours. I listen to the questions. I usually get an answer immediately without thinking about it. I have been amazed that I am mostly aligned with your guides and angels. I've been doing this to develop my own intuition. However, I just realized that I might be tuning into your guides instead of my own. Is that correct? No, actually, you're hearing your own angelic team. And so that's another reason that we do these shows, right? So this is not just entertainment news per se. The reason we do these shows is to try to affect a change in the universe. One of them is kind of to allow people to cross-check their own internal information, communication with their guides and angels. That's what this is all about. Remember, this is like being connected to a universal telephone company, universal 5G cell phone service. So yes, you're hearing your guides and angels, and I encourage everybody to utilize these shows in any way that's beneficial, including cross-checking information with your team. That's a beautiful way to use these shows. 17. Hello, Sterling. You mentioned the 30-year reset, the years 2020 to 2050. Does that mean we are all elevating to a better existence? Does that mean the whole world will be in a better place in 30 years? Yes, absolutely. The 3 decade reset is all about the elevation of humanity from some very practical, pragmatic things. So, not just the veil fitting to the other side. So, more people developing and using their own psychic and mediumship skills, communicating with souls, loved ones on the other side, but also the acceptance of humanity, LGBTQ, various races, more economic equality, a vast integration of extraterrestrials in society around world peace and science and health breakthroughs. So all of this is all coming during this 3 decade reset. Actually, the world living more harmoniously, free energy, and that's from a quantum physics standpoint, free energy, not an economic standpoint. Yeah, so all this is happening during the 3 decade reset. Everybody that's down here that's helping right now agreed to be down here during this 3 decade reset to help. 16, dear Sterling and team, is it possible to learn lessons and make progress on the other side without reincarnating again? Who decides when we are finished with our learning on Earth and what is the next step after Earth school? So souls reincarnate to learn lessons on Earth, right? So there's Earth is a very unique school. You're in complete control. The one source, the one force, it kind of manages everything in the universe, connected to everything. But free will determines when you come down, if you come down. There's no one that makes that decision for you. It's all about you, your unique soul. It's only you, based on free will on this side and the other side, that make those decisions about reincarnating, right? And so soul's infinite. It's based on energy. It can't be created or destroyed, but you make the decisions about how you want to go through soul evolution. And I think the question was, can you learn lessons on both sides? You can learn lessons on both sides, but remember, Earth is a unique school that includes fear and all the elements of personality and people that exist in the fear side, anxiety, jealousy, anger. Remember, a lot of those things don't exist in the heaven dimension. So the Earth school teaches you uniquely different lessons, which is why people keep coming back. 15, hello, Sterling and team. Will the murder of Honey and Barry Sherman, wealthy Canadians worth nearly $4 billion dollars and in the pharmaceutical industry, and they're as well as being major philanthropists, ever be solved? I've read on this before, but I do see in the coming 5 year period it will be solved. And this looks like this was an organized murder, not a random murder. And this could have been what I call a gangland style murder, unfortunately. But it looks like over the next 5 years, it will be resolved, it will be solved. 14, hello, Sterling and team. Thank you for your work. Do dogs and cats perceive the energy of deceased people? I inherited my deceased friend's cats, and the female sometimes looks up at the corners of the room as if she can see something there. Do deceased people continue to check on their animals? Yes to all the above. So animals can completely perceive the other side. Animals do see the spiritual side. And that's important because many people sometimes need clues from their loved ones. Are they around? Can they see me? Your animals will give you tips and triggers, and they'll show you that the people are still around. And yes, if you adopted animals from a prior friend that passed away, they're absolutely sync communicating with your friend, the people on the other side. And yes, they do come around to check on animals. A very loving connection there with animals. 13, hello, Sterling and team. The U.S. reportedly has over $35 trillion in debt, which could lead to the collapse of the U.S. dollar. Is there any plan in place to deal with this, and what will be the result? I do see the U.S. actively working to resolve the debt over a 3 decade period here. Again, also over a 3 decade period here, resolving the debt and bolstering the debt with other assets, whether it's rare earth metals or bolstering the debt in some way. I don't see a complete collapse of the US dollar. We've talked before on these shows about the transition to digital currency, not cryptocurrency, but there will be worldwide digital currency that a lot of the world will shift to over the next 5 to 10 years. You'll see the US shift to a digital currency, but don't see the collapse, no. 12, hello, Sterling and team. Last week I was driving to pick up my sons from school, and a hawk flew down in front of my car and floated there in front of the car for a few seconds, then flew off, which I thought was a little strange Can birds carry any significance or messages for us? Yes, birds, as well as all animals, completely connect with the other side, and they're actually used as messengers from the other side. So sometimes a good example, when you see a hawk go right on your car, right around your car, that's a message from a loved one, believe it or not. And there's actually something for you connected with a father or grandfather trying to get a message across to you of love. But all animals act as messengers, communicators from the other side. So many times, people will say, gee, I saw a robin come around my house or a hawk. Was that my father? It was not your father, but your father's bird is allowing your father to communicate to that bird to get a message in front of you. 11. Hello, Sterling and team. I was listening to a trans channeler, and a question was posed as to what happens to souls of people that have been cremated. The channeler's response was, it is a good idea to wait 72 hours so all the soul's essence has ascended. What are your thoughts? It does not matter or make any difference to the souls in any way. Once the soul departs the body, it's like you leaving your car. And it doesn't matter what happens to the car after that. So the soul makes a very complete transition. So this is really what I see when I hear these kinds of things. This is really kind of individuals overlaying kind of what I call like a human understanding that has no relevance to what's going on in the human dimension. I'm sorry, the heaven dimension. Okay. So yeah, it does not make any difference to when the soul's departure as to what happens with the car that's left behind. It's really a lesson for humanity. I think a lot of humanity does get very twisted up and involved in, gee, what do you do with the body and cremation versus burial, and the burial has to be next to this place or this oak tree. Loved ones and souls, when they pass on, they have no connection with any of that. It's really lessons that are left behind for the living. Okay. 10. Hello, Sterling and team. Joe Rogan released a podcast episode with Elon Musk on Monday, a day before the election. That same night, Joe Rogan posted to social media that after talking to Elon, he is now endorsing 45 for president. Does this have, or did this have any impact on voters and voter turnout? Well, it did. It did have an effect because Joe Rogan audience is something like 40 to 50 million listeners, and that's comparable to having the same effect over 4 or 5 major networks, right? So that's a big tranche of people. So it did have an effect on the election, but was not necessarily the element that kind of turned the whole election, but did have an effect. Yeah, did. 9. Hello, Sterling. Since extraterrestrials are millions of years older than we are, did they have to go through a growth period similar to the stage we are in now? Did they have help from other entities? So, all entities go through a reincarnation cycle, even extraterrestrials, and that's how they learn, that's how they grow. It's all very true. But everybody gets help from the one source, the one force, regardless of what kind of entity you are in the universe. Extraterrestrial, animal, Homo sapien sapien, everybody gets the same kind of help. Okay, 8 in the countdown. Hi, Sterling and team. Will there ever be a time when history and civics return to schools? I do see it, but it's on like a 5-year horizon. So with about 5 years, you're going to see a lot of this return to schools, but it has to do with more societal norms, budget and funding. All these elements are coming back together, but it's within about a 5-year period. 7, dear Sterling, wife and team. I lost my mother when I was 20. I am soon to be 65 years old. Do we get to see our loved ones when we pass on? Yes, nearly immediately after passing on, you get a chance to visit with your loved ones. Usually, you start being guided by your guardian angels, your birth angels. As you move through the transition process, you're then immediately kind of reacquainted with family members across over. So, yes, that's all very true. 6 in the countdown. Good morning, Sterling and team. Will Ann Richards' daughter or Beto O'Rourke run for governor and Texas restore to a blue state with their victory? No, I'm from my time. I'm not getting that this is going to be the case that either one will successfully run for governor. They might throw their hat in the ring, but it does not look like they'll successfully run or be elected governor. I think that that's a question. It looks like it'll be many, many years before, let's say, Texas like starts turning blue. 5. Hello, Sterling. Can a deceased relative or ancestor visit you briefly in the physical present state and then disappear? Yes, all spiritual entities have the ability to create a full scale apparition. Now, it takes a lot of skill from the other side. It is really learning a skill. When you cross over, you can't immediately pull together the energy and the skill it takes to create yourself as a full scale apparition. But it's always done as a meaningful experience for the person that experiences it here on Earth. So whether it's an ancestor, an elder, a family member, it's usually done at a time when you need to see that apparition for some life lesson you're going through. But yes, it is very possible for spirits, entities to show themselves, regardless of the type of spiritual entity it is. But it does take skill. And that's why sometimes elders or great ancestors, they may have more skill at creating apparitions. Four in the countdown. Hello to all. Do pets have guides and birth angels? Yes, all pets, animals, sea life, birds, everything, every spiritual entity has a guiding team of angels and guides. We all do. Every entity, every spiritual entity, every soul, because animals, marine life, birds, people, Homo sapiens sapiens, everybody has missions and life lessons they're supposed to go through, and they all have a guiding team to help them achieve those life path goals. Number three in the countdown. Hello, Sterling. You often mention your contact with beings from other planets and systems. I'm curious how and when you are in contact with them. Do you ever meet with them in physical person? Yes, in most all occasions, I communicate with them telepathically because it does take another layer of energy, again, to create the apparition, to see them. Now, they show themselves physically to me at a lot of varying times, whether it's in the house here or whether it's in a work situation or even in a dental office. I've actually had the extraterrestrials approach me, for example, in dental offices for something going on, not just with the dental, but yeah, they do show themselves as full scale apparitions when necessary, but not always necessary because you can get a lot of communication going real time telepathically or through what I call the creative mind center that we all have. The innovation center of the brain is what connects with everything in the universe. Okay. And number two and number one in the countdown. I always take notes before I start the show. And so let's go through those. Number two, what do you see coming up next week? More announcements relative to the overall election process and background investigations into the integrity of the overall voting process across several groups of voters and states. Again, not saying there's a different outcome. There's investigations going on here. New background knowledge being revealed relative to 45 and Elon Musk's working relationship and collaborations on the world stage. So more coming out around collaborations around the world here. New studies released, interesting enough, on human growth hormones in children and young adults and the way science can now contain this genetic disorder in the future. So interesting, human growth hormone development coming out. And number one in the countdown, do you have anything your guys want to share for this week? Know the universe is working for the good of everyone, and even when things are challenging, there is light at the end of the tunnel. Stay tuned to your unique guides and angels as you maneuver through difficult times. They will never lead you astray. On that note, that concludes the show being recorded today on Saturday, the 9th of November, 2024, and then released to the channel posted on the 10th of November, Sunday, 2024. As always, you need to reach me, go to sterlingpsychicmedium.com, look for the book session tab. I think now there's some dates available in June, July, and August of next year, 2025. And if you'd like to join our Platinum membership, it's very easy. There's a join button again on the front page of the YouTube channel homepage, as well as the homepage of our website, sterlingpsychicmedium.com. Again, we do live streams and answer a plethora of questions on Friday morning live streams, Pacific time zone here in California. So, on that note, I'm going to send out a lot of goodwill and tremendous love to you and your families. Take care. I will see you all again very soon.